Hey guys, what is going on? Joel here, and welcome to Back in the Day, and welcome to what is going to be the final unboxing of, for games anyways, for 2022. It's been a difficult year. I was actually just looking at my uploads from the year, and it's been a very slow year for me. Just like I had told you guys, due in large part because of working so much and really having a lot of just personal family issues that have come up. This has been a rough year for both my wife and I with tragedy and loss. But it's not an excuse, but it is. You know, I mean, unfortunately, life does not take a back seat when tragedy strikes. So I'm really hoping and keeping my fingers crossed that the 2023 is going to be a better year. That being said, I really this was an unboxing that I wanted to make sure to do literally for this very period of time in the year. Let us jump into the Wayback Machine with Sherman and Mr. Peabody, and we're going to go back 30 years to 1992. And I've said numerous times that like from 88, 89-ish until around like 94, 95, those were the best years of my childhood, adolescent, young teen years. But if I had to pick one year that I would go back to relive and to re-experience everything all over again, it would, without a doubt, be 1992. I apologize about the noise in the background. The dog is deciding to pull the blankets off of his mattress. So, anywho, yeah, it would be 1992 that I would go back and revisit. Like, all right, so how do I put this? I had stated, because obviously with almost every single unboxing I've got, there's always a story that goes along with it. So, Dragon Warrior 3 is not a game that I have any personal experience playing. There's a reason why I'm unboxing it. The reason why I have it in my collection, because of memories. Like I said, when I was collecting, it was games that had an impact or that I had memories with. And you'll understand here in a minute. So, like I said before, I went to a Catholic school for my 2 years of 7th grade and for 8th grade. So, excuse me. So for 8th grade, I was in 8th grade in 1992. And Father James Cosgrove, he was the priest of the St. Mary's Parish church, and we would always see him, walking the halls of the schools, and he's a real sweet old man. And I remember one afternoon, he popped his head into our classroom, and we only had maybe about no more than 20 kids in our class. I mean, that's the thing with Catholic schools, by and large, they're, typically very small classroom sizes. Well, Father Cosgrove had an Irish setter named Derry, and apparently he did this quite a bit with other previous classes. He popped his head in and he said, "Hey, look, I'm looking for a responsible gentleman or young lady that would be willing to dog sit for me when I go out of town." Father Cosgrove had I believe it was his brother that lived. It was like a 2 or 3 hour drive, and he'd like to take a Saturday afternoon and go visit his brother and his brother's family. He, however, couldn't bring the dog, and the dog couldn't stay in hours and hours and hours. So he would find a student. "Hey, could you come over for Saturday afternoon? Just hang out and take the dog for a walk, take him out every so often to go poop and pee." So I raised my hand and I said I would be interested in doing it. So that kind of began. That was one of my first, first jobs, was basically being a dog sitter. And it was funny because I remember, I showed up at the rectory, and it was just Father Cosgrove. It wasn't like there was a lot of priests that lived at the rectory. It was just him. So he kind of just showed me around and said, "Okay, here's his dog snacks, and I'll be back, later tonight." So it was funny because Father Cosgrove, it was very boring sitting there. Like, there was nothing to do. He had one little side room that had like a little couch in it, and it was this it was an old color TV that only picked up like 5 channels, and it was so fucking boring. There was nothing to do. And I remember after a few hours going, oh man, like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? There's nothing to do. Until he got back later that night and he paid me, and he paid very well. I think for like all that whole day's work, it was like, he gave me like $25 or $30 just for taking the dog out every so often. I was like, oh wow, well that's cool. And it became like a regular thing every 2-3 weeks. I would go and I would dog sit. So, as it turned out, I wound up working for him that Thanksgiving. I spent all Thanksgiving Day, and he compensated me very handsomely. I think he paid me, it was like $60, I think. $50 or $60 for dog sitting the whole day. And I got fridge access too. Like, he said, oh, help yourself. And so that was cool. But what leads into the whole Dragon Warrior 3 thing is I saved up my money, and I was using that for buying Christmas gifts. Well, I remember looking, I believe it was at a Sears catalog, and I saw they had Dragon Warrior 3, and I really wanted to buy that for Mike Keebler because he was a huge RPG fan. He had the first Dragon Warrior. He didn't have the second one, and that's why the second one doesn't really have I haven't unboxed the second one because of kind of the order. He didn't play Dragon Warrior 2 first. He played Dragon Warrior 3. So I bought this for him that Christmas. And I remember being so excited because I gave my mom the money. It was the first like really big, like, when you're 14 years old and you're giving a Nintendo gift, and I mean, that was like a $70 game. This was $70, and even back then that was fucking expensive. So it was a big deal for me, and I remember, having my mom, I wanted to play like that whole stupid, like, putting it into box after box after box, and, so you'd have a shit ton of things to open, until he finally got to it. Mom, unfortunately, only wrapped like a couple little boxes, so it wasn't as big of a thing as I was hoping for. But, one of the main memories, and I had shared this with Mike not all that long ago, because unfortunately his dad passed away about 2 years ago. And one of the main things that I remember about that was we were going to his grandmother's the day after Christmas, because Mike's mom and dad were divorced, and so he would typically spend Christmas Day with his dad, and then he would get dropped back off that like late afternoon, early evening. And then the following day, they would, go to his grandmother's. Well, I had been invited to go to his grandmother's with them the day after Christmas. So that evening, it was either mom or dad dropped me off at Mike's trailer. And the thing with Mike's parents is they were still, they had a good relationship, even though they were divorced. They still had a really good, very friendly relationship. And I walked in, and Mike's mom and dad, and I think his stepmom might have been there too, but his brother was there, and they were all just kind of like hanging out in the kitchen, bullshitting. And I remember Mike's mom saying, hey, Joel, this is Mike's dad, Alan, have you met him? And I've stated in the past, sometimes I was a fucking dumb kid. Like, just dumb shit come out of my mouth, I'm sure that was everybody, but for me, it was like an endless stream of nonsensical, like, stupidity. And I looked, and the first thing that came into my brain was, yeah, I think we might have met, but I don't think that it was in person. And without fucking missing a beat, Mike's dad looks at me and he says, what was I, a fucking ghost? And everybody starts laughing. And I remember just kind of like, shrinking back into myself thinking, oh, that's not funny. But, it was. And I shared that with Mike. And after his dad passed, that was the one memory I had of his dad. Mike was like, hey, thanks for sharing that. That definitely sounds like Dad. I really appreciate you, you retelling me that story. So yeah, that was holy fuck, I'm already like 9 minutes into this. I haven't even unboxed this motherfucker yet. So yeah, that was the Christmas of 1992, and the beginning for my thing with Dragon Warrior. So that was why when I got into collecting, I wanted to get this into the collection, just because of that. It was the first big game that I ever bought. I bought it with my own money, and it was something I was really, really proud of. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get in and unbox this bad boy. And this thing is in, like, these... That's what's crazy is the Dragon Warriors are fetching a huge price these days, and this is in just, I mean, there's a couple little nicks and dings, but I mean, this thing is in fucking mint, like just beautiful, beautiful condition. So the legacy of Erdrick continues. What I always thought was really interesting with this, because I do remember reading about it in Nintendo Power, was that it was actually a prequel to the first Dragon Warrior, which I thought was kind of cool. And when you went through the land, and they did like little A/B comparisons of like the way that it looked in Dragon Warrior and the way that it looked in Dragon Warrior 3, and like how certain parts in Dragon Warrior 3 weren't finished, but they were finished in Dragon Warrior. Like, just sections of land. It was kind of interesting. Alright, so we're just left with the box. Just a really cool box art, too. I love that. So, and as far as I know, I believe this thing is complete. So let's go ahead in here with the cart. That back. Then here we have the it's like the chart listing. There's all the enemies, the world map, all the different spells and attacks and healing. Like, yeah, your monster chart, which is like this game was huge. Here on this side, you know, your different items, armors, weapons. So, like, very cool. And then the Explorer's Handbook, which this is really nice shape. I remember somebody wrote something in it, but it was like just one little note. But I mean, other than that, it's in very nice shape. I'm gonna go through this real quick. Your table of contents. I mean, like these things, like like Sean from Retro Reminiscence, like him and I've talked before. Like these things were just fucking jam packed. We were talking the other day, and just how, you know, this is all stuff that's lost on games anymore. Like they don't add any of this. Yeah, here we go. Like somebody had written in here, you know, just markings, which no big deal. It's kind of interesting. I wonder who had this that had done that. But just kind of goes through the lands. Yeah, I mean, I had no experience playing this game, at all. But I was just really happy to have been able to purchase this for Mike. I remember him watching him play it. More so Dragon Warrior 4, I remember him watching it. This one I remember as well, but man, just memories. But like I said, Sean and I were talking about just how you don't get manuals anymore, and it's just you leave it up, like he said. You look at like Limited Run, and it's an indie developer that's now putting all the nice the hard work into packing these games with manuals and little extras and bonuses. Like I pointed out, like it kind of irritates me because these games, especially these Switch games, they're saving on packaging. I mean, it's just the fucking game and the case. There's no manual. There's no nothing. You mean to tell me they can't drop the price of the game? I mean, they're saving on what they're packing in them. So, yeah. So that's really it, guys. I mean, I'm sorry it's not more of an exciting unboxing, but like I said, I had no real connection to this other than purchasing it for Mike for Christmas. So I want to thank you guys so very much for the last year and for all the support that you guys have thrown my channel. And Sean, hey, thanks for try to get me 500 subs. Let's see what we can do this year. There'll be more unboxings this year. Like I said, just 2022 was difficult to say the least. But once again, I want to thank everybody for all the love and the support. And hopefully everybody has a very, very Merry Christmas and a safe and very happy New Year. So until then, like my boy Sean says, just keep on reminiscing, baby, and we'll see you in 2023. All right, take care, guys.